Welcome to Books with KB. I'm KB and I'm here to talk about books. I love books. I'm always either on iBooks or Barnes& and Noble scrolling, looking for a book to add to my wish list. I'm always recommending books to my friends, and sometimes I will even sacrifice sleep just to finish a book. Let's get into the last three books that I've read that I really enjoy. The last book I read was China's Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan, which is the sequel to Crazy Rich Asians. I like it. It was like a soap opera. There's like 1,001 things going on at once. And I didn't really mind because it kept the book interesting. There's like a whole bunch of characters that you're being introduced to, as well as old and familiar, I guess, faces. I really like the fact that Rachel and Nick's mother were able to like patch things up. Although in the movie, that's a whole nother discussion for another time. It just reminded me of like a really good soap opera. I think the book is relatable in the sense that like in the dating world, a man's mother will like always, or there will always be like that instance where some man's mother doesn't think you're good enough for her son as a woman. And it's kind of like, well, you were once someone's daughter and you married someone's son, so why would you go and do the same thing? But that's besides the point. In this book, Rachel gets to meet like her birth dad and his family, and that's when things start to get a little crazy. We get to see more of the dynamic between Astrid and her husband. I'm really excited about that. We also get to know more about Kitty. Like, she was like a minor character in the last book, but this one spends like a lot of time on her, which I didn't really mind because like Kevin Kwan writes so good. It's just like, okay, let me find out more about Kitty. What's Kitty up to? What's Kitty trying to do? Like, what's going on with her family? Am I excited that this is gonna be turned into a sequel? No, not really. Not really. Because I read Crazy Rich Asians like probably a few months before I went to go see before the movie came out and I saw it. And there's like chunks of the book that is not included in the movie, and I understand that could be like a budget or a creative issue, but it just doesn't, it's not going to match up with the story that you read in the sequel, if that makes sense. But it was definitely a good read. I had to pace myself, actually. I had to pace myself because it was so good. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to finish this book by such and such. And then when it was done, I was just like, oh no, I kind of want more. I know there is a sequel to this one, so I'm going to like read that too. Another book that I read recently is this one, We Love You, Charlie Freeman by Kaitlyn Greenidge. This book is interesting in the sense that it's about an African American family teaching a chimp how to sign language, and they live at I guess you can call it the lab. They live within the lab where the chimps are kept. It's I have never read a book like this before in all of my 20-something years of reading. But this is such a good read in the sense that like it talks about like queer relationships, betrayal and secrets. Also, it does a really good, Kaitlyn does an amazing job at looking at the history of Black people being compared to chimps, apes, and monkeys, because before we actually meet this family, we meet a woman who's in like this secret, I don't want to call it a cult, but they're called the Morning Stars, or I think that's what they're called. one of the scientists at the lab, is it even the lab? Oh my god, I'm probably saying it wrong. At the institute, there we go, the institute, asks her like, oh, can she pose for him? And she's like, oh, okay, sure. And she's like developing feelings and like sharing parts of her life with him. And he's not really being as open as he should be. Further along in the book, you come to realize that like he was using her body to compare it, well, not compare it, to be able to draw the chimps that they had at the Tony B Institute. And it's just kind of like, oh, this is sucky. There is a part in the book that weirded me out, and that probably was Kaitlyn's point. So one of the daughters catches Charlotte, the teenage daughter, catches her mom breastfeeding the chimp. And I read it and I had to close the book for a while, process what I read, open it back up or reread the section because I'm just like, that's I feel like this is like borderlining like some bestiality type of, like, you're a human, why are you feeding an animal from your own boob? Like, that was a little weird. The other daughter, what's her name? Callie. Callie's like, I think 10, and I guess this would be rough for any child that like, oh, your mom's not like paying as much attention to you. She's paying attention to your brother who's a chimp. So it was very stressful for Callie, but it's a thing that like every child needs their parents' love and attention, like no matter what the situation, no matter what the age. The two sisters were close at some point, but there's like a loss of like trust because Charlotte, she has a friend who like is borderline her girlfriend, but not really. I thought that was really good how they explored like Charlotte realizing that like, oh wow, I do have feelings for this girl and I really consider her to be like a friend. I think very highly of her. I thought that was really good because I don't think it's very often that like you get to see like young queer characters in books. This book, I think it's become one of my favorite books that I've ever read. Like, there were so many layers. The last book that I've recently read is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I hope I'm saying it right. I've seen a lot of people on the train with this book. Every time I would go on Barnes and Noble to like look through the books that I wanted to read, it would like always be in like the fiction section. And I'm just like, I'm gonna read you one of these days. And I finally got around to doing it. It's worth the read. What I took away from this book is that if people minded their business, the world would be a better place. Because the mom in this book, oh my god, she is a hot mess. She was so into what Mia, the family's babysitter, cook, help, nanny, all of that. Like, she was so into her business that she didn't even realize that her children's lives were like one by one falling apart right in front of her. Like, aside from Mia working for this family and her daughter becoming attached to the kids, there's also like a story of like adoption in there, which I didn't know who I agreed with. There were some parts I was just like, okay, all right, can we like get to it? Like, let's pick up the pace a little. And I thought the coolest thing about this was, so there's a daughter in the book named Izzy, and she's super attached. She adores Mia, and it's kind of like Mia is the older version of Izzy, and I feel like Izzy could have been the younger version of Isabel in terms of like how strong their characters are. And also a cool thing that Celeste did was she has the title of the book actually in the story. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'll see you guys soon so we can discuss more books. Bye!